Heyo, Omnidogs and Omnikittens. It's Omnidog here, doing an overview, by special request, of Legion of Superheroes, the Silver Age Omnibus Volume 2. And I'm surprised I hadn't already done this, so I'm glad I got the request, because this has my two favorite stories, probably of the Silver Age. That, of course, is Death of Ferro Lad and Ghost of Ferro Lad. When you're 9 years old, those are a big deal. And that's how old I was probably when those were published. And this is actually a really good picture, I think, with Validus, whatever his name is, from the Fatal Five. So, holy smoke, we start out really on Jim Shooter was one of the writers. I think that's how he got his start. He was like 15 years old and he started writing, or 14 or something crazy. And he sent in a script and they hired him. He was 14 or 15 and he started writing Legion of Superheroes. We've got Kurt Swan and Jim Mooney, who's famous for Supergirl and Legion of Superheroes. And, wow, we've got a table of contents talking about pencilers, inkers, writers. Pretty good, DC. They're doing it up right with these Silver Age and Golden Age books. So these look really good. And as usual with Legion of Superheroes, it's a mixed bag because we'll start out with Bizarro Legion. That's the kind of thing that was fun when I was 9, and you look at it now and just go, okay. And so we've got the Bizarro Legion, okay. And the Menace of the Mystery Legionnaire. One thing these things do have in common with other Silver Age DC Omnis is it's got nice glossy paper and beautiful colors. These are really well done. This looks like Jim Mooney art to me. Pretty sure it is. And I did like, let's see, these look like, the supervillains with Lightning Lord and Saturn Woman, Saturn Queen, Lightning Lord, and Cosmic Queen. Now those I thought were fairly interesting stories when you got the adult versions of the kids involved. That's when Lightning Lad lost his arm. Civil War of the Legion. So these are... Yeah, I remember getting that issue when I was little. Let's see, what years... Let me just take a quick look as to what years we're talking about. 65 through 67. Yeah, that's about right. That would make it right in my ballpark when I started collecting. And, you know, it's a mixed bag. You get guys who have powers like Ultra Boy and Lightning Lad, Brainiac 5, who can think like a computer, Saturn Girl, who I believe can read minds. And then you get like Matter Eater Lad, who can eat all kinds of matter. And I'm thinking, what kind of superpower is that? Colossal Kid who can grow. That's interesting. He can grow to be a giant. I'm thinking that's a pretty good one. The Legionnaire dropouts. Can you imagine that? If Matter Eater Lad made it in, who are the ones that don't make it in? And this is typical. The Menace of the Sinister Super Babies. These guys get taken and made little kids. And then it gets followed up. Oh, The Sacrifice of Kid Psycho. Here's Colossal Kid. Or Colossal Boy. Sorry. Got my boys and my kids mixed up. Here's a supercomputer that takes them on. Computo, the Conqueror. And Triplicate Girl had one of her triplicates killed, so she became Duo Damsel. That was her power. She could split into 3. And then she could only split into 2. So as you can see, the colors are very pretty. Art, Kurt Swan art at this point, extremely good. Kurt Swan art, of course, peak art. You couldn't get any better in the Silver Age than Kurt Swan. I am not familiar with this artist. This is not anybody I'm familiar with. I'd have to look this up. George Papp, maybe. And then back to Kurt Swan. But then we're coming up on some real... This, to me, was the drama. This was probably 1967. Find the Fatal 5, or the universe dies. Here we have Ferro Lad, Princess Projecta Mono, and that looks like Starboy. Sunboy, sorry. And these guys were like the worst of the worst. The Fatal 5. Emerald Empress, Mano, who had a deadly touch, the Persuader, Tharok, and Validus. And so this was interesting because it was a 2-issue arc. And in the Silver Age, you really never got many 2-issue arcs. Everything was one and done. So that was a big deal, I think, because it was 2-issue arcs. It was a 2-issue arc. At the time, I think, in 67, 68, there was a kryptonite virus issue in Action Comics, I think. Maybe Neil Adams did the covers, and that was like a 3 or 4 issue one, if I remember right. I'll look it up after this. But that was a big deal, because that was like 3 or 4 issues, and that never happened. And this was 2 issues, so you had to get both issues to get the full story. And it led up to this, the Doomed Legionnaire. So this is how it goes. The heroes versus the villains. And in it, spoiler alerts, I'm going to spoil it for you because it's a 50-year-old book. 52-year-old. Superboy is imprisoned and weakened. And he cannot help this because they've called on the Sun Eater, this guy, and it actually eats suns. And they've found a weapon to use against the Sun Eater. But Superboy's too weak. Ferro Lad turns to iron, gets the weapon, and Ferro Lad disappears into the Sun Eater to destroy the Sun Eater. And kills himself in the process. And they shoot off a memorial to him, which was a big deal to me as a 9-year-old, or 8-year-old rather. It's 1967. I was 8 years old, and death of Ferro Lad hung heavily in my heart. But then, this is the comic that I still have, the Ghost of Ferro Lad. He comes back and haunts the Legion's headquarters. And I'm not going to spoil this for you because you have to read this. This is a great book. So, there's my overview. Wonderful Silver Age stories that make no sense and are totally fun and totally encapsulate the Silver Age of Legion of Superheroes. They are a ton of fun that I really love. And I think you will too if you're into the Silver Age. So, peace and love, peace and love. Please subscribe, leave a comment, hit the like button, and thanks for tuning in.